Rudolf Nureyev, the Soviet ballet star who walked out on the Leningrad State Kirov Ballet and asked for asylum in France, is to dance in the country of his adoption.
It's the summer of 1961, Paris, and Rudolf Nureyev, principal dancer with the Kirov Ballet, has just become the world's most famous asylum seeker.
The press in Paris learned that Nureyev declined to be sent back to Russia, knowing that he was very much out of favor with the authorities. At this stage, he would not say more, but continued his rehearsal for The Sleeping Beauty. Ballet experts declare that the young Russian is the Nijinsky of the 1960s.
Rudolf Nureyev had arrived in Paris with the Kirov Ballet a few weeks earlier. It was his first trip outside Russia. The Kirov were performing at the Paris Opera, where a young Pierre Lacotte was principal dancer. Pierre Lacotte didn't know it at the time, of course, but he was to play a key role in the drama that was about to unfold. 50 years on, he still remembers the moment that he and the other French dancers first met Nureyev. Even then, he says, the young 23-year-old stood out from the rest of the Kirov troupe.
But he was not like the other one. He wore a suit and with a tie, and he was very elegant. And he was looking at us in a very strange way. And suddenly he moved, he crossed behind everybody, and he arrived in front of us. And we said, that's strange, because we knew that the Russians don't have the right to talk to everybody, and it was very strange, this attitude. And he started to talk to us, and he was speaking in English already. And he said, what are you doing? How is Paris? And we saw that he was ready to talk with us, and he wanted to.
And so they invited the young dancer to come and eat with them.
He was so happy to go with some French people for the first time in his life. And we started to talk about arts and painting and things like that. And he was very, very proud of his knowledge, because he knew all the French painters and he wanted to go to the Louvre. So after dinner, we bring him back to the hotel. And in front, he stopped in front of the car and he looked at us very strangely. And I said, well, what happened? He said, yes, I think it's the last time I will see you. I said, why? Because it will be difficult and maybe you don't want to see me again. I said, depends. If we have time and if you are interested to visit certain things, we could help you and, bring you by cars there and there, Versailles, where you want to go.
For the next 3 weeks, under the watchful eye of his Soviet minders, Nureyev went everywhere with Pierre Lacotte and his friends, visiting the sights of Paris, the bars and the restaurants.
You have a lot of caprice, like, what do you like to drink? He said, I want a Coca-Cola, I wanted a cup of tea, and I say, stop, you have one thing. Don't be like a spoiled child.
But he was very young, wasn't he?
Yes, of course, he was very young.
A young boy for the first time.
Yeah, first time, and it was very exciting about everything.
And then there was the dancing. Nureyev was understandably nervous about performing in the West for the first time, and he asked Pierre Lacotte to come and watch him rehearsing.
So I went the day after to see the class, and I discovered Nureyev as a dancer for the first time. I was astonished because he has so many possibilities, jumping, battery and everything, and a great, great personality. So after the class, we meet each other, and he said, what did you think about me? I said, it's very simple. If you dance the way you dance in the class today, it will be a great event because you dance beautifully. He said, but I'm afraid it's the first time I dance in Paris. So I said, okay, but you have to do it well. So he said, well, I promise I will do my best. And we went with Clara Saint, a friend, and myself in the first role for the performance. And when the curtain up, we saw Rudolf, running. And when he danced the variation, he danced like an angel. So it was a great, great, great triumph.
Dressed in a simple blue tunic that he designed himself and a turban, the young Russian dancer was an overnight sensation. At last, the day came for the Kirov to leave Paris for London, the next stage of their tour. Pierre Lacotte and Clara Saint had promised to come to London to see Nureyev there, but at the last minute Pierre decided to go to the airport to see Rudolf off. He knew the KGB hadn't been happy watching Nureyev go out every night with his new French friends, but he had no idea how incensed they'd been. As they waited for the flight to London to be called, the Kirov's director, Konstantin Sergeyev, pulled Nureyev to one side.
And suddenly the director talked to him, and I saw Rudolf was green. I said, what happened? Oh, he said, it's horrible, you have no idea. They want me to come back to Moscow, and I'm not going to London. And if I'm going there, I will never be able to go out of Russia anymore. So help me do something. I said, well, it's crazy. So I go to talk to Sergeyev, and I told him, listen, I could assure you he never say anything against the regime in Russia. We just talk artistically about different things. He want to visit different museums. That all. No, but he lied. There is nothing like this. His mother is ill and he have to come back.
This is what Sergeyev, the director, said.
Yeah. And after, Rudolf said, he lied, it's not true. I know it's finished for me. Do something or I kill myself. He said, please don't leave me. Stay here, because if you go away, they will put me in the transit and I could not do anything. I said, but what can I do? I'm alone. You want me to stay in front of you. And after, all the company leave to London. And they start to cry when they kiss him goodbye. And I realized that it was very grave for him.
Pierre Lacotte thought furiously, maybe if he could call their friend Clara Sant, she could come and help. But he didn't dare leave Rudolf's side. Just then a stranger came over and asked if something was wrong.
And I realized this man could help me. So I write the phone number on a piece of paper of Clara Sant, and I make a little ball, and I put that under my foot and push the paper nearby the foot of this person.
So this was a complete stranger, just somebody...
Yeah, completely, like a movie. So this man go down, take the phone number and say, I'm coming back.
At last, someone eventually got through to Clara, and it was another 45 minutes before she arrived, minutes that seemed like hours to Pierre Lacotte. When he explained what had happened, Clara went over to a nearby policeman, whispered to him, and then came back to Pierre. All Rudolf had to do, she told him, was to go up to a policeman and say that he wanted asylum. But how to tell Nureyev, who by this time was surrounded by KGB minders? Pierre told them that he wanted to say a last goodbye.
So they opened the circle of the KGB. I go to him and I say, listen, Rudolf, look behind me, there is Clara Sant. And behind Clara Sant, there is a policeman. And you just have to come to him. You kiss me. You kiss Clara and you said, I want to be free. And it's done. He said, are you sure? Are you sure? My God, I'm so afraid. I said, don't be afraid. Stay quiet and do what I say.
Rudolf Nureyev did what he said. And with those words, I want to be free, one of the greatest dancers of the 20th century left his homeland and family behind and defected to the West. Years later, Nureyev was asked if he ever regretted the decision that he'd made that day.
I'm glad it happened. I never regretted for 1 second, even at the worst moments, because there happened few. In the worst moments, I never thought ever going back to Russia.
Within a year of his defection, Rudolf Nureyev had joined the Royal Ballet in London, where his partnership with the ballerina Margot Fonteyn is one of the legends of the history of classical dance. Rudolf Nureyev did return to Russia in the 1980s. He died in 1993, aged 54, from an AIDS-related illness. Pierre Lacotte is today one of France's leading choreographers.